You are an English learner, and one of your goals is to improve your listening skills. Maybe by hearing all of the details, or knowing every English accent, or understanding 100% of everything, or even remembering all the information. But the truth is, all of these methods are wrong. But don't worry, today I'm going to teach you 3 simple steps to actually improving your English listening skills. This episode is being brought to you by the Speak English with Tiffani Academy, the #1 online English academy for intermediate and advanced English learners. If you're ready to become a member and continue studying with me, click the link in the description down below. Let's jump right in. The steps. All right, step number 1, dissect the information. This means to examine the information you are listening to and break it down into specific or certain parts. The main idea is to break down the audio file you're listening to into 3 different parts. So for each part, you want to tell the general idea or the situation, okay? So let's see this in action. We have our first one. Now, as an English learner, sometimes it can be hard to truly understand American jokes. So what we're going to do is listen to a situation where 2 Americans, one of them happens to be me, are laughing about something together, and we will dissect the info. So let's jump right in. Here we go. All right, number 6. What job do you think you'd be really good at?
So apart from like something in the arts, you mean?
I was thinking about that because in your answer for the previous question, I think you already kind of told us that you'd be good at performing arts. Yeah, so we'll leave it there.
At least, not to toot my horn, but I think I'd be good at. I think I'd be a good.
I agree.
Honestly,
I agree.
Look out for that Emmy.
Hey, I'm gonna be right there, the friend right next to her as she gets the award. All right, right there on the screen. Number 7. Okay. So we finished listening to the clip. Now what happened? We noticed that the first part involved one of the women, which actually was me, asking the other one a question. Okay, remember, we're dissecting the information from the audio file. We're not looking for any specific details, just the overall idea. Then for part 2, the other woman gives her answer or response to the question. And finally, both of us start laughing. So remember, step 1 is to just dissect the info, breaking it down into 3 parts and seeing what happens in each part, okay? All right, now moving on to step number 2. Step number 2 is paraphrase the information. This means to reword, using your own words, the information that you are listening to, okay? So as you'll see in the little visual on the left side, whatever you hear, you need to take a portion of it and then literally write it over in your own words, okay? So we're going to do this again. We're going to listen to the file, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Here we go, okay? Here's the file again. Now, remember, the goal is to be able to understand it and to paraphrase only certain parts. Or you can do the entire audio clip depending on what you're listening to, okay? So here we go. All right, number 6. What job do you think you'd be really good at?
So apart from like something in the arts, you mean?
I was thinking about that because in your answer for the previous question, I think you already kind of told us that you'd be good at performing arts. Yeah, so we'll leave it there.
At least, not to toot my horn, but I think I'd be good at. I think I'd be a good.
I agree.
Honestly,
I agree.
Look out for that Emmy.
Hey, I'm gonna be right there, the friend right next to her as she gets the award. All right. Right there on the screen. Number 7. Okay, so what do you notice? What I did was I chose 3 different parts, 1 section from each of the parts that we had before. So part 1, part 2, and part 3, I chose a portion from each of those parts and I paraphrased those parts. So example, part 1, I chose, all right, number 6, what job do you think you'd be really good at? Now, as an English learner, that may be a little bit long. So how can you paraphrase that? What is the general idea of that statement? Well, I said, she asks her about a job she would like. And that's true. Again, by paraphrasing, you're showing that you are understanding what's going on in general in the audio file, okay? Then part 2, I chose, the woman said, not to toot my own horn, but I think I'd be a good, Now, she didn't necessarily finish her statement. It seems like she kind of cut herself off. But again, I can paraphrase this because grammatically it's incorrect at the end. And again, this is a natural English conversation. So just like in your own language, sometimes you speak and your grammar may not be the best, okay? So what's happening is I need to figure out what toot my own horn means. So I've looked that up and I realized, it means to compliment myself. So I rephrased or paraphrased it and said, the woman compliments herself and says she would like a job in the arts. Okay, I've paraphrased that. All right. And then part 3, I chose the part where she says, hey, I'm going to be right there. The friend right next to her as she gets the award. Now, I was the one actually saying that. And I paraphrased that and said, the main woman agrees and says she will be with her as a friend. So what's happened is the information that came from the audio file has now been put into my own words, okay? All right, now moving on to step number 3, it's going to be very important for us to understand something. We need to create questions. You see, this means to come up with questions related to the topic being discussed. Now, why is this good? This is good because it causes a connection. This connection is very important for you as you're trying to improve your English listening skills. Remember, listening is not just about knowing each and every word. It's about understanding what's going on. So let's see this again. For the 3rd step, we're going to listen to the audio clip again and see if we can figure out some future topics. Remember, the goal is to be able to find key information and create questions about that information. So let's listen one more time. All right, number 6. What job do you think you'd be really good at?
So apart from like something in the arts, you mean?
I was thinking about that because in your answer for the previous question, I think you already kind of told us that you'd be good at performing arts. Yeah, so we'll leave it there.
I think not to toot my horn, but I think I'd be good at. I think I'd be a good.
I agree.
Honestly,
right. I agree.
Look out for that Emmy.
Hey, I'm gonna be right there. The friend right next to her as she gets the award. All right, right there on the screen. Number 7. Okay, so now you see what's going on. Now we're in step 3, and you're understanding a little bit more about the audio clip and what's going on between these two women. But now we're creating questions. So for part 1, I wrote 2 questions. Why is she asking her about a job? And were there more questions prior to this question? Again, it's connecting me to what I'm listening to. Then for part 2, I asked, why did she say toot my own horn? I know the meaning of it because in step 2, I already looked it up to figure out what it meant. But why is she saying that, okay? And number 2, why did she mention an Emmy, the award? And for part 3, what comment made them start laughing? And then number 2, why did they laugh when she mentioned being on screen? So you see what's happening in step 3 is you're literally beginning to understand and connect to what you're listening to. This is really going to enhance your ability to understand when you are listening to something in English, okay? So these are the things you need to understand. Again, the 3 steps are dissect, paraphrase, and create. Now you can improve your English listening skills. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I want to remind you to join the Speak English with Tiffani Academy. In the Academy, I teach you even more English tips, and I also show you how to improve your English to sound more like a native English speaker. Remember to click the link in the description down below, and also watch the next English video lesson on the left side of your screen. As always, remember to speak English.